See, if I move that back, it would go backwards. Yes. What's up, junglists? We're getting into Breakcore territory today. If you hear anything you like, hit that subscribe button. I'm just going to jump into it. Because there's no slicing, I can't really slice up the transients on the beat and then put a modular in there that tells it to like jump around, maybe with a sample and hold. So I was curious to see what I could do with this sampler, and it's pretty cool. I can actually do way more with this, and this is kind of mundane, but it's an interesting first start, so I'd like to show it off. So let's turn it back up. I feel like this is something you'd resample. This would be like a good breakcore, like maybe 8 bars of breakcore, or like a jungle fill. So the sampler's on drone. That's where it gets simple. There's no input. We could make it more complicated by adding gates that trigger the sample, and then that should interact with what's going on down here, which I'll explain in a minute. First, I need to explain the heart of the patch is this crossfade with this Super LFO, and the amplifier is acting as an attenuator. You don't need the amplifier, but I like it just as a single knob, and you can modulate it with this CV. That's cool. The Super LFO is modulating the crossfeed, so I'm going to turn that down for now. And then I'm going to turn on these drones. And if I turn this all the way to the right, you're going to get just this sampler because it's plugged into number 2. All the way to the left, just this sampler. Now what's happening is there's a sync divider. It's attached to my BPM and my DAW, and all the sync dividers, the resets, are attached to the play transport. So whenever I hit play, everything's synced together. I send the clock of that sync divider to a sample and hold, which has an LFO being input into it. Now the LFO that's being sampled and held is going into the loop and end points, and the loop is being modulated forwards, and the end is being pushed backwards just a little bit. But if you push it back a lot, you'll actually push it behind the loop point, and the loop will loop backwards, and you'll get reverse sounds. So you can play with that. But you want the loop to be pushed all the way up, or almost all the way up, or else it kind of just plays the same thing over and over. This is where you want some drastic sounds. This LFO, the frequency is being slightly modulated by the Super LFO. This LFO is running into the frequency of this LFO. And this is the same thing. There's a sample and hold going into a sampler, and I'm using the clock that's going into the Super LFO to sample and hold the LFO. Like, I'm using 2 dividers, and this sampler is sharing one with the LFO. These 4 LFOs here, they're just making movement here. That's it. They're just LFOs for the whole patch. And that's what's cool, is you can play with just the LFOs and change things entirely. You don't have to touch the sampler now. So I'm going to turn it up. And we choose a break. I like this one. And I'm going to turn the modulation up until it pokes into the other break just a little bit. Get crazy with it, whatever. That's kind of what I like. And see, these are just samples for days that you can just throw into your hard drive and pull out whenever you're making ridiculous experimental breakcore. As I said, this is just my first attempt. I'd like to make a second one of these and then maybe like try some Boolean stuff, juxtapose them in strange ways against each other. I only had like an hour to make this, and I think it turned out well. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, judge me. So let's try to get a different shape out of this. I'll make this dotted. Turn this up. See, if I move that back, it would go backwards. Yes. All it is two breaks cross faded into each other and a bunch of LFOs. I'll put this on my Patreon if you're interested. You need Voltage Modular Core. I got it on sale for like $50 this year. I got really lucky. I hope other people did too. Don't forget to leave a like, and I'll see you next time.